What if your chronic illness or the chronic illness you've been diagnosed with isn't exactly what you were told? What if it's something different? What if the symptoms in your body or the chronic disease or the diagnosis of your body is really just symptoms of your body telling you that there is something wrong? Well, today I'm excited because we have Dr. Lee Cowden in the classroom. I am thrilled because it's been a while. And the last time he was in the classroom, he was telling us the good news about the research they're doing with ALS. And so today we're going to catch up with Dr. Lee Cowden, who is world renowned, and he's going to reveal 6 commonly overlooked causes of chronic disease. So get your pencils and paper or pen, whatever you like to write with, or just listen to this recording over and over and over again because Dr. Lee Cowden is in the house. He's in the classroom.
And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
Hi, my name is Lillian McDermott, and I am a certified life coach, a certified holistic cancer coach, and the host of the Lillian McDermott radio show Classroom. If this is the first time in the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. As I said, Dr. Lee Cowden has been such an incredible teacher in the classroom, another mentor of mine, has helped us with the M3 Detox Experience for 12 weeks, metals, molds, and microbes. Oh my. He helped guide us, and the people that went through the process were better off by doing it. And so today we're going to be talking about these 6 unrecognized or uncommonly unrecognized or not even thought of as causes for chronic illness. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I'm grateful that Dr. Lee Cowden is here to do just that. Welcome, Dr. Lee.
Yeah, it's great to be on with you again.
Yes, and it's interesting because I wanted to have this conversation the first time when we were recording because I am looking forward to hearing the advancements that you've done with the ALS, that you've done with, the 6 uncommonly or uncommon causes of chronic diseases. And I also want everybody to know where to find you. So let's get started because we only have a short period of time to learn as much information as we can from you. So I know that you want to talk about the uncommon, but can we start with ALS? Is that something that we can start with?
Yes, I think that that's very important for people to
Yeah.
understand because a large percentage of people that develop ALS have the symptoms in their body for 1 to 2 years before a neurologist is finally bold enough to make the diagnosis. The reason that the neurologists are reluctant to make the diagnosis is because most of them think that ALS is an untreatable, irreversible, uniformly fatal condition, and they don't want to give that information to the patient. So they withhold the diagnosis for a long period of time. But if you have any kind of neurological symptoms, you need to go teach yourself about what's going on. At healingals.org, there's a lot of information about amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Uh, Most neurologists say it kills people in 3 to 4 years, that there's no treatment for it. And we're proving both of those to be wrong. Okay, so this is the graphic of a 1 year pilot study that we did with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. And you'll see from that graphic in the green section, 19% of our patients improved during that 1 year. That's unheard of in the peer-reviewed literature. Another 19% stayed stable the entire year. That's also unheard of in the peer-reviewed literature. And then we had another 47% that worsened less than what's predicted in the peer-reviewed literature. So 85% of our patients did better than what's predicted in the peer-reviewed literature. Now, uh, for decades, the allopathic medical community has been looking for the cure for ALS, and so they're identifying a drug, giving that drug to the patients in a trial in a research study, and not seeing a benefit, and then they move on to the next drug, what we call monotherapy. But most patients with ALS have at least a dozen different causes of their condition, and expecting one drug to fix all 12 of those causes is idiocy. So what we did with our study is we educated patients about integrative medicine and said, whatever feels right to you, talk with your health practitioner and start it if you feel like it's the right thing for you, and then record your results. Tell us what your functionality was, tell us what your symptoms were, tell us what your diet, your supplements, your all that other stuff was. And we saw that in that 1 year pilot study that we could get an 85% improvement compared to the peer-reviewed literature. So
Wow.
now we're going to do 1,000 patient study, because with 45 patients you can't really tell what's doing what, but with 1,000 patients you can tell.
And Dr. Cowden, and I don't know if you have any other slides, but because I want everybody to see, but for those of you who are listening on podcasts, just make sure that you know that you can always go to my YouTube channel, Facebook, or BitChute channel and see this graph. It's a very impressive graph. With that in
Yeah.
mind, Dr. Cowden, um, were you astonished by this? Because we did a class on ALS and we had people that had survived for over 10 years ALS. And I asked the question, why would people get upset that we're exposing this when, they diminish the fact that there were like 10 or 12 people that have gone beyond the expectation of the death sentence that the doctor gives them. And they get upset when we talk about this, and it's probably because they are in their ego and they just want to be right about death with this diagnosis. So we
Yeah,
did a class on that. Yeah.
we presented this at three neurology conferences, one in Florida, one in Montreal, and one I think the third one was in Florida also. But what there was two responses from neurologists that came and saw this. They said, "That's amazing," or "You're lying."
Yeah. They
But
just
that they
they
only
just
had
can't give up their belief system.
they only had two responses, and so what we have to do now is to replicate this with 1,000 patients. If we get 850 of those patients doing better than what's published in the peer-reviewed literature, then the neurologists nationwide, worldwide, will not be able to ignore that any longer. I chose to work with ALS because that's the condition that I had the least success with in the 35 years that I was in practice.
Mhm.
And so when I found this group, healingals.org, there at the bottom of the slide,
Mhm.
I decided that that's the group that I wanted to work with because they were having success.
Yeah.
And so we've improved their success since I started working with them, because I brought additional integrative medicine, functional medicine doctors on board to help us.
That's amazing. And I am so grateful that you're sharing and doing this work, first of all, because you could be resting and enjoying life, but you are really being a trailblazer when it comes to this. And I remember you saying that same thing. If I can help reverse ALS, we can change lupus, we can change any form of autoimmune condition, this is good news. This is truly
Yeah,
good news. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, ALS is the toughest condition to reverse, and we know that when we have success with this, we'll have success also with Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, autism, and a lot of other chronic conditions. So, this is just the trailblazer
Yeah.
group here.
And once again, I want to remind everybody that if you want to check out that class with Dr. Lee Cowden on ALS, we had some people that had survived more than 10 years with ALS and have reversed it. And I believe we had a gentleman on the show. How, are you, is he part of this study as well, Dr. Lee?
I don't know everyone that's in the study. I tried to do the study in a blinded fashion because that's what the medical journals expect. They don't want you to have any bias in the study. So
Hmm.
we intentionally blinded ourselves to the identity of every patient.
Very good, very good. Now, is there anything in particular? Because you did say that there were 12, think common symptoms or common now. There's 12 things that are common with ALS. Do you, and we discussed it in last show, in the last class that we did, is there, with those six, those 12 symptoms, do they also, are we going to be discussing them today as okay, the silent ones? Okay. So,
Yeah, yeah, the
and
unrecognized causes.
the
You
unrecognized.
you call them uncommon causes, but they're not uncommon. They're actually very common, but just unrecognized.
Unrecognized. There we go. Yeah, because we sometimes they might be common, but we don't understand that they're common for that particular thing. We have forgotten that we can feel better, that we can be healthier. We just take it and say, "Oh, I'm just getting older. It's just the way it is." But what do you tell people that feel that that is a myth that keeps keeping that myth going. It keeps that myth going that as you get older, you just get sicker and then you die.
Well, that's the typical pattern of people that live in the United States, especially because we eat junk food
Hmm.
all day long, never drink water. We drink soda and coffee and call that hydration.
Hmm.
We're getting exposed to massive amounts of pesticides and herbicides and electropollution and all kinds of other stuff. And so our bodies naturally degenerate because of all that insult. But it doesn't have to be, you know. You know, statistically speaking, by the time you're my age, you should be on 7 pharmaceutical drugs,
Yes.
but I'm only on one. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, I could be on none if I chose to go through an invasive procedure, but I choose not to go through an invasive procedure, so I continue to take that one. And so that means somebody, typically you're on 7 drugs for every 70 years of life you have. So that means somebody is getting my share.
You're funny. Well,
And
I'm glad that you're not taking them.
yeah, yeah. So I'm choosing to just say no.
Hey, listen, if that slogan could be done with drugs, we can do it also with lifestyle and nutrition, and we can just say no to all the toxic overload that we put in our body that creates the illness. And the problem is, Dr. Lee, that as I see it, and because I look at people, I coach people, and it's the mindset is so important
Yeah,
that they believe that because their mother or father had diabetes or heart disease or some chronic condition, that they're going to get that condition too. And then when they
yeah.
get the diagnosis, they feel, oh, they can't do anything about it. What is your advice to people that believe that right now?
Well, that's a lie, first of all.
Hmm.
And so if you know that you're at risk for a certain condition, there's so many things that you can do to prevent from ever getting that condition. So we know from cancer research that the genetics only represents 5% of the causation.
Hmm.
Okay. So what are you doing about the other 95%?
Correct.
Are you detoxifying regularly? Are you eating clean food? Are you drinking enough water? Are you getting physical activity such you exercise your lymphatic system to carry toxins away from your tissues? Are you avoiding electropollution and geopathic and all that other stuff? So
Hmm. Yeah, those are great questions, and most people don't even care to find out what the truths are for the answers to the questions that you just asked. So, moving forward, I know that ALS. When are you? I want to go back to the ALS study for 1,000. How can people get involved? And is there a cost involved? If somebody has ALS, do they have to be at the beginning, middle, end? Are there any requirements right now?
yeah, we're taking anyone who has a diagnosis of ALS. or what's called in other countries MND, motor neuron disease. And so it doesn't matter whether you were diagnosed a few minutes ago or a few years ago. We take everybody because we want to know if there's a difference between those that have had the disease for a long time and those that have had the diagnosis recently.
Mhm.
We want to know, this is an observational study. It's not an interventional study. So they can do whatever they want to do with their treatment. If they want to take an experimental drug from the pharmaceutical industry, they can do that, but we request that they record it. Okay, so we'll know what's doing what. If they want to do several different clinical trials at the same time, as long as those other clinical trials say, yeah, you can do ours with two others or three others,
Yeah.
that's fine. And we may find something interesting in that. We might find that one drug doesn't do a thing for ALS, but two drugs together might. So we want to find out what helps patients with ALS. It doesn't matter to me whether it's a pharmaceutical or whether it's a dietary change, a detoxification process, an avoidance of certain pollutants from the environment, blah, whatever. We just want to know the answer.
But right now, with your 12-month study that you did, have you gotten closer to that answer? Because I didn't realize that anybody can come and they can do whatever they want. Do you have anybody following your protocol or,
Oh
um,
yeah, most of
okay.
those most of those 45 patients are still following the educational information that they gained from healingals.org.
Mhm.
And if they saw an improvement in their condition, I can almost assure you that they're still doing it. Okay, if they didn't see an improvement in their condition, they may say, "Well, I don't think that works for me. I'm going to try something else." But oftentimes that's a mistake because sometimes it's not just onesie twosie that makes a difference. It's the combination of three or four or five or six or seven different things that makes a difference. So, we're taking in that 1,000 patients, we're taking about 400. We think from the United States, about 100 from Brazil, 100 from India, 100 from UK, 200 from the rest of European Union, and about 100 patients from the rest of the world.
Hmm.
And so we want every patient to be willing to put their data into our registry once a month, which takes about 45 minutes, no more than an hour. Once a month, put the data in and do that consistently for 1 year. If they'll do that, then they can help themselves and they can also help us
Very
figure out
good.
what makes a difference. Because after a year of data collection, for sure, we will analyze the data and publish it every place we can publish it.
Very good. And that if they go to healingals.org, they can find their protocol, what they need to do to start the process of healing. And is this something
Yeah,
that they could take to their doctor or is this something they can do themselves?
yeah. It's up to them whether they inform their doctor that they want to do this or whether they just want to do it on their own. Again, this is essentially all natural treatments. No pharmaceutical interventions.
Mhm.
Okay. And so if they decide that they want to just try it, then they embark on that. When they go to healingals.org, they click on Quick Start, and the Quick Start is about 7 hours worth of educational information that gives you an
Wow.
overview of what the 47 steps is. The 47 steps are trainings that we do once a week for 47 weeks. We have some time off for holidays and so on. So from those 47 steps, you'll learn enough information to be able to apply that to your own life and hopefully see a benefit from it. But we always encourage patients that have a practitioner to go to their practitioner and say, "This is what I'd like to do. This is what I plan to do. Whether you help me or not, I'm going to do it."
Hmm.
And then usually the practitioner says, "Sure, I'll follow what you're doing. I'll watch what you're doing." A lot of them don't believe in it because they don't have the knowledge in integrative medicine.
Mm.
But it's hard to refute an 85% improvement compared to the rest of the peer-reviewed literature in 45 patients.
Yeah.
That's not happenstance. That's something significant going on there.
Can anybody have access to the information and not be part of the
Yeah,
study.
if they're an ALS patient that has a document from a doctor that says, yes, you definitely have ALS or MND, then they can enter that document into the registry. And we have two people that look at that and it's not doctors, they're lay people that look at that and see if it's a document, it's a, a document that is reliable. Because when we publish this, we have to make sure that we're only analyzing ALS patients and MND patients, not just every Tom, Dick, and Harry. So, but I don't ever see those, documents from their doctors. Only two people that have signed informed consent forms. Sorry, signed non-disclosure forms to be able to look at those two things. And then once they put that information in, then they get access to all the education for free, access to the registry for free, and other people that don't have those diagnoses can still participate in that 47 steps, but there's a fee for that, and it's not a huge fee. It's $50 a month, and so you spend a little bit of money, but that $50 provides funds for us to finish doing more data
Yeah,
programming, computer programming, and also to have funds that we can donate to families who are financially in need that need a motorized wheelchair or some
it's
other
nice.
piece of equipment.
I know this is very fulfilling to you.
Yeah,
So is this going to all start together, or have you guys already started receiving the different people for the different countries?
yeah. It took us 6 months to get the Institutional Review Board Research Protocol approval to do this as an exempt study. Took
Wow.
6 months to do that. And then it took us a few weeks to get the clinicaltrials.gov document completed
Mhm.
because you cannot publish in the peer-reviewed literature unless you're registered on
Wow.
clinicaltrials.gov. So
Wow.
now we're ready to start taking participants.
Okay. And the study is going to last a whole year. So
A,
anybody
min
who
a minimum of 1 year. If a
minimum one
person
year.
if a person wants to continue after a year, they're perfectly welcome to. We actually encourage that because the longer we analyze this data, the more we'll know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I remember distinctly someone being very upset with me about the lies that were spreading when we talk about ALS. And I had done some private research on my own about people who have survived ALS. There were about, at the time that I did my research, 18. And I replied
Yeah,
back to this person very lovingly that why
yeah.
isn't anybody looking at these 18?
Well, that's a question that the Duke University team posed, and so they've actually collected 62 documented reversals and
Wow.
have published about 46 of those.
Wow.
And on the Healing ALS, we have approximately 100 documented reversals. But Duke University is, reluctant, hesitant to add to their list because they're getting criticized, just like you just mentioned,
Mhm.
for even talking about that.
Yeah.
Dogma dies slowly.
Yeah. Well,
Dog-
and change in the medical industry could take 20 years, 30 years, 100 years to change because I guess I remember hearing the terminology too big to fail when the housing crisis happened, and it was about the banks. And the pharmaceuticals are too big to fail. And so they are doing everything they can to make sure that we stay dependent on these drugs that are probably knockoffs of nature.
yeah,
And
most of them are.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
So before we go into the six uncommon causes or unrecognized causes of chronic disease, I want to share a little bit about the website, and because I really just want Dr. Lee to share his perspective when he shares, and I don't want to stop him. So I want to tell you to go to whenyounneedafriend.com. This is where we learn new truths about health and wellness and living the life of your dreams. So go to whenyounneedafriend.com while you're there. please subscribe to the website, like and follow me on all social media, also podcasts, BitChute, so that we can stay connected and you can get this
Mhm.
information. I'm just really excited about all of this because, when if something good is going to come out from this, is that Dr. Lee will make sure that it has integrity. The study has integrity, and that all of us are going to benefit from this. So if
Mhm.
you go to the website, if you go to my blog, you will see different links for Dr. Lee. One of them is acimconnect.com. That's one, and you can just click on his name and it'll take you to different places. The other one is healingals.org, and the last one is Dr. Lee Cowden, no, DRC at drleecowden.com.
No,
Or
yeah,
did I
just
say it
yeah, yeah,
MD?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
dr l
Dr.
d
Lee
yeah
Cowden.
yeah DRLEECOWDEN.com.
Yes.
Yeah,
And so
and
you can, I'm going to click it. You'll just have to click it and it will take you straight there. But I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, check out all the different conversations, our sponsors, support our sponsors, the teachers in the classroom that come in, support them like they're supporting the classroom. We have the Shop Now bag, Shopping with Lily, and these are all Lily approved products from makeup all the way to pain management and beyond. We have different places where you can research and learn a little bit more about natural health. So check out the website. And also, when you go to whenyouneedafriend.com now, there is a pop-up, and the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit is on November 1st, 2025, and it's in beautiful Rockledge, Florida. We're going to be focusing on cancer and autoimmune disease. Maybe I'll even have Dr. Lee Cowden zoomed in. We haven't discussed this yet. I don't mean to put him in the spot, but at least a video or something to get you excited about these reversals that are happening, that the pharmaceutical industry would not want you to hear about. Last but not least, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom, whether it's $1, $1,000 a month, or a one-time donation whether it's your time, your talent, your treasure. All of it is very much appreciated. And so today we have Dr. Lee Cowden. I shared his three different links, but you also must know that he has books, and in his website you will see some of the other things that he is doing in our community, in his community, and creating change. And so if you want to really grow exponentially, Dr. Lee Cowden is teaching other functional doctors, MDs, NDs, all these chiropractors how to become a functional doctor. That's what his passion has been for such a long time. So, Dr. Lee, let's talk about these six unrecognizable causes.
yes. So the commonly unrecognized causes, often unrecognized causes, uh, there's several of them, but I'm going to try to talk about six of those today. And and the first I want to talk about is called the nocebo effect. A lot of people are familiar with the placebo effect, which is seeing something good because you expected something good. But a lot of people are not familiar with the nocebo effect, which is seeing something bad because you expected something bad. Now, the most common cause for the nocebo effect is something that's spoken over the patient by a health practitioner, a doctor, somebody else in the health community. And we know that the average child in the United States hears the word no 100 times for every time they hear the word yes once. So logically, we would come into adulthood pretty negative thinking. So that means that the nocebo effect has more power than the placebo effect. And so you must get rid of the nocebo effect if you want to get well from a chronic disease. And most doctors don't even talk about that, don't even think about that, don't even ask about that. But if you do some type of energetic testing, you can actually determine whether the person does indeed have a nocebo effect. If you ask the person with their lips, do you have the nocebo effect? Most people will say no. Or if you ask it in writing, do you have nocebo effect? Most people say no. But if you ask it by energetic testing, electrodermal screening, muscle testing, pulse taking, etc., um, a lot of patients will actually have the nocebo effect affecting their condition, whatever their condition is, whether it's cancer or ALS or some other severe illness. So
How do you, what is going on with their lip? Can you be more specific?
if the patient says, I do not have a nocebo effect, and
Uh-huh.
you do no energy testing, then very often they'll think that that's true, and you'll think because that's what you heard that that's true. But if you did muscle testing or electrodermal screening or Chinese pulse taking at the same moment that they said that, you would see it's not true.
Got it. Okay, so you're testing them energetically. That's what I missed. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And so you want to make sure that you test each person energetically for that question. Do you have the nocebo effect? So they would make a statement, I don't have the nocebo effect. And that would either be a truth or a lie. And if it's a lie, it'll distress the person that's doing the testing and the patient both. And you'll know that it's not true, that it's a lie. And then you got to figure out how to fix that. Okay, usually you say next, uh, were you told at the time of diagnosis, what were you told? What words were spoken over you? Okay. And they'll say, well, my doctor said that I have this terminal cancer or this terminal ALS or this terminal other condition, and that there's no effective treatment for it, and that I'll be dead in X number of months or years. And so that's a way that they get imprinted into their brain and then eventually into their heart, those words. Okay. And it becomes a reality for them because they believe it, not recognizing that that person that spoke those words is just another human being. They don't know. They don't know. They think they know, but they don't know. Okay. And so when it came to cancer patients, I would say, okay, you said you had such and such cancer condition. I had one of those patients, 25 years ago that had that condition and was told the same thing by their doctor. Would you like to speak to them today on the phone? Would you like to speak to them today, 25 years later?
Mhm.
They said they're still alive. I said, yes, they outlived their doctor. Okay. And so that's one way. Another way is for the patient to actually, if they have ALS, for example, to go to healingals.org and watch the dozen or more videos of people that used to have ALS that no longer have ALS. That's pretty hard to refute.
You're reprogramming them so that
Right.
they will believe that it is possible for them to heal.
Yeah. And then after they do enough of that, then they typically will do some type of affirmation or prayer saying, it does not serve me well to continue to believe this lie that was spoken over me. I choose to reject that lie and get it out of my head and get it out of my heart so that it will no longer affect me.
Yeah.
Or if they're a praying person, God, please do all of that. And so after that, you can energetically test again and make them say, I don't have a nocebo effect. And if you feel truth and don't feel distress, then they fixed it and they can move on to the next thing. Okay.
Uh, yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. That's
Yeah.
a quick thing that people can do. And especially, I mean, can you do it yourself? Can you test it yourself?
If you're skilled at muscle testing, you can test yourself. Yes.
Okay.
I teach courses on how to test yourself, or to test a comatose patient or an uncooperative child or an animal. Okay, so if you can test all of those, you can test yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So
Uh,
what's
yeah,
next? Yeah.
yeah. So I want to show you a slide that I think is going to be very helpful for your viewers. I'm going to talk next about geopathic. Most uh, most allopathic doctors and most patients don't have a clue what geopathic is. There's a few integrative doctors and functional medicine doctors that do understand geopathic. And this is a map of somebody's house with the geopathic lines marked through the house. There's simple ways to test for geopathic. That's with dowsing rods. But again, if you've been sleeping on a geopathic field or sitting on a geopathic field hours per day, you won't be an effective geopathic antenna to use dowsing rods yourself. You'll have to get somebody else to do it. Or you can use some very sophisticated instruments that are now available in quantum physics to measure for the geopathic fields. But anyway, they can be measured in a variety of different ways. Now, this map shows a blue water stream going through two of the rooms. And it also shows the Binker grid and dark green lines running through the house. And wherever the blue water stream intersects the Binker grid is the worst place in the house. So where you see that red star, you would not want to have a bed there. That would be fatal. Okay. And the reason I say that it would be fatal is because of what Dr. Veronica Carstens did in 1985. She had building biologists go to the houses of 700 of her patients with advanced cancer and do testing for geopathic. And they found a geopathic under almost all of the beds in those 700 patients. They moved the bed off of the geopathic line, and when the patients came back to Dr. Karsten's office, a very, very large percentage of them were in full remission from cancer without having done anything else. Okay, so we're not talking about something trivial, we're talking about something critical. I've evaluated 15 ALS patients and found that all 15 of those were either sleeping on a geopathic line or sitting on a geopathic line hours per day. So it's a very common problem in people that are chronically ill. And I don't want you to miss that.
Who do you contact to discover? You said dowsing rods, but there's
Well,
not.
yeah. If you go to Building Biology Institute online, I think their primary office is in Florida, then you can find building biology representatives all the way across the country to come to your house and take a measurement. But they'll measure not only the geopathic, they'll measure the electromagnetic as well, which I'm going to talk about next.
Okay.
And that's important because geopathic and electromagnetic are synergistically harmful. So if you give a point score of 10 to the harmful effect on the human body from the geopathic and a point score of 10 to the harmful effect on the human body from the electromagnetic, if they're exposed to both at the same time, it's not 10 plus 10 equals 20, it's 10 times 10 equals 100. It's about a five-fold multiplier.
Wow.
Okay, so
And
I'm going
what
to
was that
show
website again? Building biology.
building biology. You just do a search for Building Biology Institute.
Okay.
They're out of Florida.
Okay.
Okay. And so they're called building biologists. Okay. So you can do a search for building biologists if you
Okay.
can't find Building Biology Institute.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So since there's a synergism between geopathic and electromagnetic, I want to talk about electromagnetic next. Now, uh, most people don't think that there's any harmful effect coming to them from the electromagnetic, but uh, bioinitiative.org, bioinitiative.org has more than 5,000 research studies showing the harm on the human body from electromagnetic. So that's not just a little bit of research, that's a massive amount of research. And the EH Trust has another 3 or 4,000. So there's a lot of research out there showing the harm on the human body from electromagnetic. Now you say, well, why is our government not doing anything about this? You have to understand that the people in the government receive large amounts of money from the Telecommunications Commission, telecommunications industry, the companies that you know provide our cell phone service and all that other stuff, and they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them, figuratively. So all of the EMF evaluation in the United States is done by what's called thermal injury, and that's not the most common cause of damage to the human body from an electromagnetic field. You know from putting food into a microwave oven that it heats the food up and finally causes it to cook. Well, when you put the cell phone up to your head, you're cooking your brain. Same difference. They're both microwave instruments. It's just a little bit slower cook with the cell phone. But we know that the use of a cell phone for 5 minutes affects that brain for one day. And we know that the cell phone use is additive and cumulative. And so if you say that a person has been exposed collectively to a cell phone up against their ear, up against their brain for 2 hours anytime in their life, then they'll have islands of dead necrotic brain tissue in their brain if they died and you did an autopsy. Okay, so we're not talking about trivial things there either. Uh, if you're being exposed to electropollution while you sleep, you don't get delta wave sleep, parasympathetic dominance, and REM sleep, which are all absolutely essential to the healing of the body. And so what I have put up there is a picture of a canopy that you can put over your bed if you live in the city or the town where you're getting exposed to electropollution while you sleep. We all need downtime for about 8 hours every night. So the only way you can get downtime if you have electropollution coming into your bedroom is to put a canopy over your bed and sleep inside the canopy. You put the flaps down on the end, the flaps down on the side, and you're basically in a complete Faraday cage enclosure. If your bedroom is on the floor above the ground floor, then you have to have the same kind of cloth on the floor under the bed, extending out from the edges of the bed about 8 or 10 inches so that the cloth from the ceiling can touch the cloth on the floor and you can get a complete Faraday cage enclosure. Uh, the way that you know whether you need this or not is you go to your bedroom as it is right now and take your laptop computer with you and sit down on your bed and open up your laptop and see how many Wi-Fi signals you can pick up. You know, the average is probably 6 or 8 if you live in the city or town. So that Wi-Fi signal that you can pick up is not just going to your computer, it's going through your body all night long because those other people don't turn off their Wi-Fi at night as they should. And so you're getting zapped all night long with that. But not just the Wi-Fi, the radio frequency burglar alarm systems from those people's houses are going through your body. The cordless phone signals from those houses are coming through your body. The electric smart meter from those houses may be coming through your body. And so it's all additive and cumulative. But this canopy will shield up to 99% of the EMF, the high frequency EMF up to 10 gigahertz. So that shields you pretty well. It shields, probably 97 or 98% up to 40 gigahertz. So it's pretty good protection. It's not perfect protection, but it's pretty good protection. If for some reason you're claustrophobic inside of a canopy like that, or you have to use an eye gaze device because you can't communicate with anybody during the night without your eye gaze device that a lot of ALS patients use, then you would instead of getting the canopy, get a Phi-2, PHI-2 blue from blueshield.com and plug that in somewhere near the center of your house into an electric plug, and it will shield about 80% of the EMF coming into your body if you use that continuously in your home. So it's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. Now, if you use the Ezov drops also during the night, then you'll actually get a correct direction of spin of your energetic vortices, and you'll be able to recharge your organs by muscular contraction of your muscles around the acupuncture meridians during the day. Too much to go into right now. Okay, so that was the third unrecognized contributor to chronic illness, chronic disease. This is the fourth. So this is a photograph that a realtor sent me from Florida, and those white fluffy things hanging down from the ceiling fan are fungal hyphae, and those black spots on the ceiling are fungal cultures on the ceiling, and a lot of those black bowls produce more powerful mycotoxins than the other white colonies or gray colonies or brown colonies that are on the ceiling. But they're all toxic. We know that mycotoxins are immune suppressive, neurodegenerative, liver toxic, and cancer causing. And anytime you have mold or fungus in your home, you're going to have mycotoxins in your air that you breathe and that get into your body and have these effects on your body. Half of all homes and half of all office buildings in the United States are infected with and affected by mold and fungus. So that means that it's a very common, unrecognized cause of chronic disease. So on my personal website, drleecowden.com, you can find articles about how to identify the fungus in your home, even though it's not visible like this. You can figure out from my articles on there how to get the mold and fungus out of your body and out of your home. And so I encourage people to do that, to go learn about mold and fungus and to do something about that.
Yeah, we have the M3 Detox Experience with Dr. Lee Cowden. You can just go to whenyounneedafriend.com and look at the different workshops that we've done, and that is a phenomenal way that you could do it yourself, along with the guidance of Dr. Lee Cowden.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
And then, uh, the research shows that funguses grow faster when there's electropollution present. Also, funguses can produce up to 600 times more mycotoxins in a given period of time if they're exposed to electropollution. So, we've got insult upon insult going on there.
Terrible.
Okay, the fifth unrecognized cause of chronic disease is this little worm. This little worm is only about a 16th of an inch long or 1 millimeter long, and it's only a little bit thicker than a human hair. But Dr. Alan McDonald got samples of cerebral spinal fluid and brain tissue from the pathology bank in Denver, Colorado, and examined those cerebral spinal fluid samples and found these little worms in all of them, all 10 out of 10 patients that died with multiple sclerosis, all 5 out of 5 patients that died with Alzheimer's dementia, all 4 out of 4 patients that died with glioblastoma multiforme primary brain cancer. And he also found it in the brain when he sliced the brain, but he oftentimes had to do 100 to 1,000 slices to find one worm. So they travel through the brain tissue, pooping as they go, and inside these worms, Dr. McDonald found, when he did microdissection on the worms, he found Borrelia, Bartonella, Babesia, Ehrlichia, and other smaller creatures. So every time these worms pooped in the brain, they deposited those smaller creatures in the brain. Every time these worms died in the brain, they deposited the smaller creatures in the brain. So this is a very, very, very common cause of chronic neurodegenerative disease. And there's a challenge because the remedies that are usually given, the pharmaceutical remedies that are usually given, do not cross the blood-brain barrier well enough to kill off these worms inside the brain. But liposomal artemisinin is an herbal extract that's been combined with uh, some sunflower seed lecithin to make a molecule that will actually go through the blood-brain barrier into the brain and kill off these worms inside the brain. So, healthydrops.net out of Florida sells the liposomal artemisinin, and a few other companies possibly do as well. So that needs to be looked for and tested for.
Dr.
I'm
Lee, I've got a real quick question. Uh, with somebody who has advanced dementia, let's say they have worms that have been undiagnosed, would we be able to give them those drops to see if they would improve?
Well, you probably need to do energy testing to figure out whether they likely have the worms in their brain. Uh, in my experience, these worms all respond to fenbendazole, which is a pharmaceutical approved for animals in the United
Yeah.
States. And so if you have a little bottle of, or a capsule of fenbendazole or a bottle of fenbendazole, and you muscle test the brain on a patient that's chronically ill, and there's a weakness when you touch the brain, but then when you put the fenbendazole on the body and touch the brain at the same time, the muscle weakness goes away. So you know that probably there's worms in that person's brain.
Got it. Okay, so you would get it, you would have them hold it, and then you would muscle test them.
Muscle test again.
Okay.
Test without the fenbendazole. Test with the fenbendazole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And some practitioners use the liposomal fenbendazole, which is intended only for animals. So I can't tell you to do that, but
I know you
some
can't tell us, but it's up to us to decide what we want to do, right?
correct.
Yes.
Yeah, it's your life and your body. So try to do it how you think you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, now toxic focus. That's a term that was developed by the Germans about 40 years ago. And a toxic focus is a place in the body, usually about the size of a marble or a pea, where there's an increased number of man-made toxins and biotoxins and microbes all in one place. Okay, so this map of the face shows you the most common locations of the toxic foci. 80% of all toxic foci are found in the head and neck. The German medical doctors find that if you don't identify and resolve the toxic foci in the patients, that usually the patients don't get well very fast or they don't get well at all. So that's why it's so important to know about toxic foci and to do something about toxic foci. So you see, number one there is the frontal sinus, and number two is the sphenoid sinus, and number three is the ethmoid sinus, and number four is the maxillary sinus, and then five and six are the upper jaw and the lower jaw. That five and six probably need to be extended a little further back toward the left, toward the angle of the jaw. So that's a little off, but anyway, then there's lymph nodes in the neck. They're affected, the mastoid process, the inner ear, uh, the vagus nucleus, submandibular ganglia is number 12, and otic ganglia is number 10. But all those can be filled with toxins and makes it really, really hard to get rid of not just an illness in your head and neck, but an illness elsewhere in your body. For example, the most common toxic focus in people that have had their wisdom teeth removed is the wisdom tooth socket. Now, the wisdom tooth socket affects the heart and the small intestine directly, but oftentimes the bacteria that are left behind in the wisdom tooth socket erode through the wall, the bony wall of the back wall of the socket, and erode into the what's called the retromolar space. The retromolar space is a place where there's energy pathways for the circulatory system, the nervous system, the lymphatic system, the hormonal system, the skin, the fibroid system, the fatty system, and the joints, just to name a few. And so the toxic focus in the wisdom tooth and retromolar area is a very common cause for heart disease, whether that's coronary artery disease or congestive heart failure, cardiomyopathy. It's also a very common cause of neurological diseases, ALS, MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, and so on. So if you don't look for these and don't fix these, then probably getting rid of those conditions I just mentioned will be unlikely. And this is where all the toxic foci are on the body. Now, this light in the top right corner here is it's called a 48 infrared LED, which you can buy off of Amazon for about $15. But you have to have the power cord that goes to it, which is about $6 on a different page on Amazon, a 12 volt, 1 amp, 2.1 millimeter coax power adapter. And if you plug that into the wall in a bathroom and turn off the lights or go into a closet that has no lights, then you can't turn, these 48 infrared light emitting diodes will illuminate faint red light, which means that there's a lot of infrared light coming out of those diodes that'll penetrate about 3 or 4 inches into the body on average and about two inches into through a bone into the body. And so if you put a vial of the homeopathic substances that are found in the body in front of the light like that, you carry the energy of that homeopathic into the toxic foci and mobilizes the toxins out of that toxic focus. Okay, so I call that photonic focal detox. And you do the same thing on the body. Then after you do all that, if you know how to do a laser detox, you can do a laser detox to get it out of the rest of the body. the remedy maker is a way where you can make remedies from your own body secretions, sweat, urine, saliva, stool, uh, but after an infrared sauna. And so we teach that on acimconnect.com. That was in a workshop that we did in September of 2024. That was kind of a whirlwind through some of the
Huge.
uh,
We need to have part
some,
two.
some of the common unrecognized causes of chronic disease.
Yes,
And obviously there's a lot of other unrecognized causes that allopathic medicine doesn't recognize. So at some point in the future, we can talk about some of the other common unrecognized causes. But
yes.
at least you got a taste of what that's like.
Absolutely. This was wonderful. I've really enjoyed getting this awareness. It's up to us now. If you want to learn more, Dr. Lee Cowden, on those slides, for those of you who are listening on podcast, there are links where you can go to learn more. But if you want to learn anything more, you can go to drleecowden.com. Dr. Cowden, you're the best. I am so excited. This time went by so quickly, but I think we need to have you back again to like go deeper, so we can go deeper into each one of your six and maybe go even beyond that. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing and for being such a trailblazer in the medical industry when it comes to becoming our own MD, our own medical detective. So thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody cares as much about your health as you should. Okay, so don't delegate the care of your body to some doctor that cares less about your body than you do.
Absolutely. And please remember, you heard it here from Dr. Lee Cowden. Take care of yourself and do everything you can to be as healthy the natural way. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lily McDermott and Dr. Lee Cowden wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. That's the best ever from Texas ever. So that's good. Thank you so much, Dr. Lee.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.